Hey Josh, we're just doing a little migration here of my Synology workstation. So we're going to be doing a little live stream while I'm just trying to get through the rest of this recording here. So stay tuned. May not be the most exciting thing. What's funny is people find some things that I do interesting, and I would actually consider them more like watching paint dry. But what we're doing here is we're going from a 2-drive Synology NAS to a 4-drive Synology NAS. That is what this activity is. And I'm just going to pull up my little live event thing so I can follow the chat room a little bit here. And Josh, you're the only one watching, the only one brave enough to watch this disaster unfold, at the moment at least. All right, so I'm going to go back over here and sign in. I'm going to keep recording here, so you're going to see me kind of doing my thing while we're doing this. All right, so let's go back to the computer screen. And I think what I want to do is show where the backup stuff is going to be. Oh, looks like I need to download the latest update, so let's do that real quick. It's funny, they don't give you the current update with this when you download directly from the website, so we'll get this up to par. And let that download. So who's watching besides Josh? I'll do a quick update here. This might take a few minutes. There it goes, doing its thing. Let's see if anybody else has popped in here. $10. Hope it doesn't take 10 minutes for this thing. It looks like it's rebooting now. There it goes. So in case you missed it, we've taken 2 drives out of our old Synology NAS and put them into the new one here. This is a 4-drive unit, a pretty powerful one. This is the DS415 Plus. I reviewed this already, so you can check out that review. But it is a NAS drive, but it's really like a little server. So it's got a Intel Atom processor inside. It has, I think it's got 2 gigs of RAM too. So it's like a nice little Linux server. And I've got like a couple of little backup tasks that I have running on one of these little cloud computing things that you can spin up remotely. It's, I'm paying about $5 a month for it, so it's pretty cheap, but it keeps failing, and I'm just sick of system administration, so I like the fact that Synology kind of handles that for me. They just update the operating system automatically, and they do all the security updates and everything else, so I'm going to kind of move some of those backup tasks. They're just like cron jobs that are running on I think it's, what's the name of that service? It's that $5 a month Linux server that you can get in the cloud. So I'm going to move everything over to this one. So this will handle my internal storage stuff around the house, and it will do some of the tasks I was putting out on the cloud earlier. So what we're doing right now is just getting ready to import the configuration from the old one so I don't lose any of my backup settings or anything like that, which is an important component here. So. And computer tech and gaming is not very nice. By the way, this is one of those things that you deal with on YouTube are trolls like that guy. All right, let's just let this come back up. And you can't let the trolls get to you. Like that's the deal. They're going to be out there. They don't do anything besides troll others. Like computer tech and gaming here, he's got 4 subscribers. All right, so let's let this come up here. And I think we're back up and running again. So I'm going to log back in. And I'm going to probably start recording in a minute because I'm doing like a step-by-step thing. And what I don't like to do is kind of like what this live stream is actually, is just kind of this boring, you know, long thing. So what I do is I try to keep everything really concise, which is what I'm working on right now. So let's go back and see who's chatting here. Sweet is here. Coldwood thinks it's interesting. That's good. All right. Yeah, Dragon Slayer. I talked about this on the weekly wrap-up. What I'm doing is a how-to video about where did I put it? How to move a 2-drive Synology NAS to a 4-drive NAS. So what I've got is I'm not running out of space, but I had this one and I wanted to use it. So I'm taking the 2 drives out of the old one, putting them into the new one, which we've now done. I've started without you guys. Sorry about that. And then what we're going to do is add more drives in. And go from there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to probably pick back up recording here. So I'm just going to log back into the diskstation. So what I'm going to do now, so I'm going to be doing like my recording that I do when I do my videos. So you can kind of see how I do my stuff. I tend not to do a live behind the scenes of when I'm actually producing these things because it can be pretty embarrassing for me. I do a lot of takes because I really want, I don't shoot for perfection, but I shoot for concise and non-redundancy. So a lot of times I'll go and do something and then actually go back and do it 3 more times until I get it to exactly where I want it to be. So you might see a little bit of that as I'm going through this. So now what I'm going to do is go back over to here, and I'll put my screen up so you can see what I'm looking at. And we've got everything updated, and I think what I'm going to do is pick it up from here. And I may not be, you know what I may do is pull up the, you're welcome, Cole. Thanks for coming in and watching this, because this is like pretty boring in my opinion. I'm always amazed by what people find interesting on YouTube, like as far as just, you know, like, it's funny because if I put a recording of this up, nobody would watch it. Like this long thing, like it's got to be, but the live stuff, people like to watch that. So we're going to do that. And I think what I might do is I have to get this, but my gaming PC back there, I'm getting a Thunderbolt adapter so I can use it with my Mac display. And I'll probably do another one with the gaming PC, because everybody was bitching and moaning. I got so much hate mail about, oh, you didn't do your cables right, you gotta get the airflow, blah, blah, blah. So I'm gonna be doing that. I figured out how to get the cables routed the right way through the case. So we'll probably take the gaming PC, do a little surgery on it, get that Thunderbolt going, and we'll see how that works out. So, hey, Dragon Slayer. Let's see. I already said hi to you, but I'll say hi to you again. All right, so what we need to do now is I'm going to pull up the chat room on my iPad so I can follow along with you guys. I'm not going to stay live for too long because I got a bunch of stuff to do before I have to head out in a little bit and the baby wakes up. So you got to find your windows here to do things. But I got this new laptop from Asus. They lent this to me for a couple days. This is a Core M I think it's the X305. Is that what they call this? Yeah, the X305F, a really nice machine. So we're going to be checking that out in a little bit later today, and you'll see that video probably tomorrow. I'm going to try and get that one up pretty quick. All right, so we got that going. And Dart likes to see behind-the-scenes stuff. That's good. Sometimes the behind-the-scenes is not pretty for me because I get frustrated sometimes, and I go over and over and over again, and it's gets aggravating. So let's go over to our control panel, and we will take a look, pick it up from here. So I'm going to be doing some recording here, guys, so you can kind of follow along and see what I do. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we've got now the new drive loaded up. It's put the DSM operating system on there, and we also have all of our files available to us. Now, I haven't yet restored all of the stuff that I had from the old one as far as the settings were concerned, so we're going to do that now. So even though this looks like the old one, this is actually the new one. My data is intact, which is the most important thing. It even kept all of my folder structures and everything else. So the migration, it looks like, has so far succeeded. If nothing else, I've got my data. I can kind of pick it back up to where I left off. But what we're going to do now is go back into the backup. I'm sorry, I went to the wrong screen. What we're going to do now, let me pick up from one more shot over here. And let's go back to me. I'm going to go here. We're going to go to control panel, 3, 2, 1. All right, so what we're going to do now is go back to the control panel and head over to the update and restore section here. And we've been in this screen a lot so far in this project. We're going to go to configuration backup again. Now, instead of backing up the configuration, we are going to restore the configuration from the old device. So we have this file downloaded onto my little Mac here. So I've got to go find the settings that I downloaded, and I'm not sure what they are. It looks like there it is, diskstation DSS is I think the one from earlier. So we're going to hit OK, and now it's going to give us the options of the things that we want to restore. So I think I'm going to do everything because I had a pretty nice configuration before, so I'm just going to check everything off. The most important thing for me is the backup stuff because I have a bunch of network backup services set up. What I do is I set up a VPN back to my office, so I actually have two of these devices backing up from one to the other over the internet through a VPN that I set up, an open VPN, and it's been working really nicely. So I'm going to click OK here, and it's going to tell me that all of the previous settings are going to be restored, which means that we're going to have to kind of reboot and start over again on this device, not necessarily from the standpoint of reconfiguring it, but it's going to shut everything down, install these new settings, and then reboot. So I'm sure this is going to take a few more minutes, so we're going to take a break here and let this process continue. All right, so we'll let that go through. And Cold Soup, I use the Synology file system. So actually what we're going to do is after this part is done and all my settings get restored, I am going to try to install the other two drives that I have on the floor over here and see if it gives me all of that space, because I had set that up with the Synology expandable file system there. And I guess it's kind of just a standard Linux thing. So, all right, so I think we are done here. I don't know if I have to reboot or not. Let's see. Doesn't look like I have to. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we are now back up with our old settings, and I'm going to pop back into the control panel here and see. My most important thing is my backup settings. So I want to see if my backup and replication settings are still intact, and it looks like they are, which is great. So I usually back up to a USB disk locally, and then I also go out to what I call the vault, which sits at my office about 20 miles away. So it looks like everything is back where I left it, which is awesome. So now I think the next step is to put in the other two drives and see if we can expand things out, because right now this is pretty much working exactly like the old one was, which is great. So now we're going to see if I can expand that volume a little bit more. So let's get to work on that. All right, so put that track down there. Technology Palava. What? I have to look Palava up. I don't think I know that word. Yeah, cool. I think the ASUS stuff is good. What's funny is when I was building more PCs back in my youth, I used to use ASUS components exclusively. And actually, when I built the gaming PC, I did the same thing. I just decided to do that. So I think what I'm going to do here is just put these drives in and see what happens. Let's see. I have everything backed up, which is why I'm so blasé or laissez-faire about my data integrity here. So let's take a look here. Let's go over to the disk group. All right, so volumes. If you want to see what I'm looking at, let me pull that up for you so you can look at that too. Yeah, and cool, it could be 100 million miles too. As long as you got a good connection, it'll work. So Ricardo, on the XPS 13 versus the ASUS, so yeah, I will say this, and I haven't done a lot of testing on it just yet, but I'm seeing that the Core M is slower than the i5, and that's to be expected. So, and I think too, it's like, and it's hard because you can do all these different benchmarks and see different things, but I kind of run my real world test, and what I'm seeing is I think on the Octane test, it's probably running about 20 or 30, 40% slower than the i5 is on the XPS, but the XPS also consumes more power in the process. So I think it's a trade-off between performance and battery life. So I would put this particular machine we're going to be looking at probably like 2 or 3 notches above a Chromebook, in the sense that you can do a lot of the stuff that you normally do faster, but won't be as fast as maybe something running with with one of the Core i5 or i7 processors. There's definitely something to be said about that. Palava means complication. That is very true. Yeah, Dart, I think getting any kind of network attached storage is a good idea because you know, you have a place to put everything. Everybody in the house can kind of get their own little file shares, and it works really, really nicely. And I've been really quite pleased with how all this works. All right, so we're going to now talk about putting the drives in. So let me see where I left off on the recording here too. So I'm going to play back what I recorded here. Bear with me for 1 second. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we are now back up with our old settings, and I'm going to pop back into the control panel here and see. My most important thing is my backup settings. So I want to see if my backup and replication settings are still intact, and it looks like they are, which is great. So I usually back up to a USB disk locally, and then I also go out to what I call the vault, which sits at my office about 20 miles away. So it looks like everything is back where I left it, which is awesome. So now I think the next step is to put in the other 2 drives and see if we can expand things out, because right now this is pretty much working exactly like the old one was, which is great. So now we're going to see if I can expand that volume a little bit more. So let's get to work on that. All right, that looked like it worked. So we'll stop that. All right. So next step is we're going to put these suckers in here and see what happens. So let me 3, 2, 1. And one of the things you're supposed to be able to do with this is put the drives in while it is on. They call this hot swapping or hot inserting in this case. So we're just going to pop these 2 drives in, and hopefully we won't see any sparks or anything like that. So we'll get the second drive in here as well. And now what will happen is once these drives spin up, we'll go over to back to the control panel and see if we see them popping up on the list. So I'm seeing the lights now coming on. So disk 3 is now coming on, and then we should see disk 4 spin up. There it goes. So now I think we might be able to refresh the screen. And I'm not sure how we might do. There we go. They popped up automatically. So now what we're going to do is we have 1 through 4 here, and I'm going to skip back to my volume here, and I am pretty sure I can add drives to this. So I'm going to expand the volume by adding hard disks. So I'm going to click Next, and it has disks 3 and 4 here because they haven't been assigned yet to the array. So I'm going to click Next here. And it's giving me a warning that those 2 drives, those 2 disks, 3 and 4, are going to be erased. That's okay because there's nothing on them that I'm really worried about. And what it's going to do now is expand my capacity to 8 terabytes, which I am very much in favor of. So we're going to hit Apply, and it's going to warn me that encrypted shared folders on the volume will be unmounted, and I'll have to put them back on later. That's fine. And it's also going to shut down services for a few minutes. This is a pretty intensive task because it is kind of rebuilding the entire array, so you don't want things getting written to the disk while it's doing this. So we're going to hit Yes, and it's going to save it, and then we're going to likely have to take another break as it does its thing. So we'll let this kind of choke on all this big task that we just assigned it, and we'll see what happens when we come back. We are seeing here now, though, it's giving us the status update that the disk 3 and 4 are initialized, and it will likely take a little bit of time to get those volumes online. And you can see here as well, we're currently in a status of expanding, and I think this probably will take some time to complete. All right. Hey, Dart, yeah, usually doing OpenVPN was a pretty arduous task. My ASUS routers have it built in, and actually they have OpenVPN servers on these Synology disks as well. So if your router doesn't support it, you can set up the Synology server on the actual NAS disk and have them connect to each other that way. So you just have to open up one port on your router and have the NAS be the management point of that. What I like about OpenVPN is that it does have a certificate that's required in addition to the password, so it's a little bit more secure than it might otherwise be. Pointless, probably not on 3.1, but you could run Windows 3.1 and DOSBox off of it. That would work. That would certainly work. Let's see. Colby, I'm not going to answer the question of whether or not Apple is better than Windows. That is a Coke versus Pepsi question. Back in my youth, it was Apple versus Commodore, so that was something there. What we got here? A 10-vis TR3818. I'm not sure what that is. And Colby's asking about the 205 TA or the HP Stream 13. They perform about the same, more or less. I think you get a little bit It's hard to say. It depends on what the task is. But the X205 is a quad-core processor versus the dual-core on the stream. So there's a little bit of a difference there. And the 205 also has a smaller screen too. So let's see what else we got here. What's funny is this thing's going to take forever. So I may go get some lunch. It's at 0%. Let me put this up here. Expanding at 0%. So this will take a while. That's cool. That's working. Let me scroll through this thing here. Who else is talking to us here? The problem with YouTube is they don't have a very good chat facility, so I'm going to go into a different screen here and see if I can follow what you guys are saying a little bit closer. What I might do is come back to this because this is going to take a really long time to get this done. Let's see. So maybe what I'll do in the interim, if I can find the best spot to look for this, is take some questions from you guys of stuff you want to know. Go back to the thing here. You can watch my Synology disk blink. One thing I have a problem with, and this has been a long-standing issue, is that anytime I have like something that is just like black in color, the cameras get all whacked out. I have to really make some more adjustments on these things. What I need is a better monitoring monitor because I have this really lousy like thing I got at Walmart that I use for just monitoring what I'm shooting live. So, all right, let's see what we got here for some other chats. So the TR3818 is a pan-tilt IP camera, 30 pounds on eBay. He has a bunch of those out there. Pointless Pharaoh wants to know if Synology is synonymous with Scientology. Probably not, but it is a funny comment. Yeah, guys, this is going to take a while. Let me go back over to this is what I see this is how you can see what's on the live stream, so I can watch your chat room in here. Oh, this is a good one. Pacey Galley wants to know what kind of cable management tips do I have? I am the worst person in the world for cable management. You can't see the mess that is down over there. So I think what's nice is a lot of the newer PC cases, including the one that I got here, they have like almost like a second floor where the motherboard sits, so you can run the cables underneath the platform where everything sits. So I'm going to do that on there. It was funny because when you do these live streams and you're trying to get stuff done in a rather quick time, you don't skip over things, but you kind of work faster than you otherwise would. And what I didn't notice is that I could take off the other side of the case and run the cables underneath the motherboard and then have them pop out on the other side of the case. So I'm going to be doing that when I get everything wired up. So it won't be perfect, but it will give some more airflow. But I haven't had any heating issues on there at all. People had recommended that I get the liquid cooler from who's it from? From Corsair, and that's been awesome. I've been whacking that processor with a bunch of encoding tasks and stuff, and the temperature rarely goes up. I'm not overclocking or anything, but that's been pretty good. Darren, there is some information on the Synology website about that question, how they're using what the file system is. Let me look that up real quick. So it's the Synology, they call it Hybrid RAID, and they have a pretty good explanation of it if you go and do a quick search here. What I like about it, for me as kind of a layman, is that it's very easy just to expand the volume, as you're seeing. It takes some time, of course. It's going to take a long time for that volume to get expanded, but they kind of give you an idea as to how all this works. And I think this is an open source thing, so it's not like unique to them. Let's see. They don't give you a lot of information here. So this might give you a little bit more information as to how it works. The SHR system is designed to meet the needs of users who do not care or do not want to know the finer aspect of various RAID levels. That's kind of like me. I mean, I am, a little bit interested in it, but I don't have a lot of time to I like to just have things that work, and this is going to work. I don't want to know the various RAID levels. I like to use SHR to handle the RAID management, storage expansion, and maximize capacity. The SHR allows for 1 disk worth of redundancy, which is fine for me. I mean that the SHR volume can suffer the loss of 1 disk and the data volume will still be available for use. If 2 or more disks fail, then the volume will be lost. Note that a RAID volume, whether classic RAID or SHR, is not a backup system, which is very true. No, it is not necessary to use SHR, and it's not proprietary. It is based on a Linux RAID management system and is completely optional to use. I don't know if this is ZFS. I suppose they would say it if it was. Let me see if anyone else is commenting on that. Not yet. Let me go poke around a little bit more. So let's take a look at Synology, hybrid, RAID, ZFS, and see if we find anything on that. So this is just from the forums, and this is from 2009. So I guess it's safe to say that this hybrid RAID is not that. I'm not sure about the bit rot issue. So I do not know. I can try to find out, though, Darren. If you're really interested, I can reach out to Synology and find that out. Colby's asking, what do I do if my router does not connect to all of my devices? That's odd. I think when you say is it wireless it's not connecting to all of your devices? Let me know in the comment there. Cole wants to know, is that a Ricoh LaserJet behind you? No, that is a Lexmark. And actually what I'm about to do is I'm going to be moving those 2 printers out of the background because they're really rather boring. And what I'm going to do, and this is a mess over here, guys, I apologize. I'm going to move my camera here so you can see what I'm going to do. I am going to move this Apple IIgs in there. And in addition to that, when I do move it, I'm going to put it on my little desk here and have a little mini review of it because I haven't really focused on the 2GS. I did like a video a while ago about it, and this is an awesome computer, and I've got it like souped up to the hilt. So I've got a accelerator card in there. We put a lot more RAM in. I think it's got like 6 or 8 megs of RAM, megs, not gigs. But that's still a lot for that computer. And I have another device in there that takes, you can actually boot it from compact flash cards or USB sticks, and you can download drive images, use them in an emulator, add stuff, do different things to it, pop the, turn off the emulator, take the USB stick out, stick it in the 2GS, and it'll boot it up natively. It is really cool. So we're going to take a closer look at that. I also have next to it, I got my camera in a weird position here, but I've also got, and look at this mess, I got to clean this up. I have a Mac SE30 as well. So both of those will kind of go in the background there when we get everything set up and running. So we'll be looking at that. I also got, because it is daylight right now, I put some light blocking blinds behind the white blinds there because it was like it was just blowing out my shots all the time. So I got something to kind of stabilize the light here. I was really getting frustrated with how all that was working. So let's see. Pacey wants to know, do I ever do unboxings, or am I just a review guy? I'm just a review guy. I think, I don't know, I think unboxings have a place, and there's a lot of people that do them, so I'll let them take care of that. I really like to focus on what's in the box, because a lot of times I've found that people spend a lot of time making the box look nice, and the product is crap. So I've been very, very careful about not doing too many unboxings. I think I did an Xbox One unboxing when it first came out, just for the heck of it. But generally, I don't do those. But I might. I mean, if there's a reason to, I'll do some unboxing if there's some special thing about the unpackaging. Darren, I'm weighing my options, leaning towards a FreeNAS build based on this very issue. Off the shelf would be nice, though. My Google FU has been so strong in regards to this question. My Google FU. That's what he's saying. Google FU. I would say, here's my thing. I used to be a do-it-yourselfer all the time, and then I ran out of time because work and kids and family and all the stuff that kind of takes up your time. You get to a point where you don't want to deal with it anymore, and you just want things to work. And what happened was I got the WD MyCloud to review first. That was like the first modern NAS that I've looked at, because I'd looked at a lot of other affordable NAS drives out there in the past, and they were just basic file shares. They didn't do anything all that interesting. And it was really intriguing to me when the MyCloud came out And it wasn't the first in this kind of line of stuff, but I hadn't really been focusing on where NAS had been, and I was really impressed with it because up until then I was using a Drobo hooked up to a Mac Mini in my basement, just kind of chugging away, and it was not the best scenario for everything that I was trying to do. And I like the fact that these drives now can run stuff, these NAS drives. And Synology reached out after I did that review with their product, and that's been out for a long time. And what's been nice about these Synology disks is that they're little servers, and I always say that because that's what they really are. And they maintain the entire installation, top to bottom. So the operating system, all the updates, you don't have to worry about a lot of the security stuff because they will. Pretty much get you, up to date with all the latest security things. You get an email. I think they probably update this thing about once a week, and mostly security updates, which is really good that they do that because they're on top of a lot of stuff. And a lot of the security issues that you run into with these is not them. It's the fact that there's some open source project that this is using that has a security hole that they're patching. So they've been really good about that. It's just nice that you don't have to really spend too much time, keeping up with everything, and it just works. And that's what I've been focused on that. FreeNAS, I think, is a good solution. And I think if you really want to roll your own, you can do it for a lot less than this would cost. But there's also some value to the time. And for me, what's happening is it's like I'm just running out of time to do stuff. So I want to do more videos, and I can only do videos when I'm not at work, and I have some time. So the weekends are when I do these longer projects, and also when my daughter's not awake because I like to spend time with her too. So those are some of the things that happen there. So Darren, thanks if you let me know about that. I'm curious about the file system. Have I thought about putting a Raspberry Pi in the old Macintosh? I haven't, but there are a lot of people that are, and you can get screens that can kind of fit in there. One thing people have been doing, there's an Apple II Pi project, which it's an expansion card for the Apple II, so it works with that 2GS over there that I showed you a minute ago, and it also works with the Apple IIe, and you can just put the card in, and it basically turns the Apple into a Raspberry Pi, but you can hook the keyboard up to it, so you can use the Apple keyboard with the Raspberry Pi, which I think is pretty neat. So that is kind of a cool thing. Let's see. Who else is asking me questions here? So that was GP's question, by the way. I want to give credit to folks there. Let's see. So Colby wants to know, do I play stream? I don't. You know what it is? I'm so bad at games that you'd laugh at me, but maybe that's an angle. Maybe I should do that. So I think I'll maybe focus on doing some streaming. What's funny is I don't have a lot of time to play games either. So I like the games that are really quick. I can get in and play them and leave. So that's why I've been really going back to the retro games because they were pick up and play kind of things. You could do that. What I did do is I got a 3DS, a Nintendo 3DS, which I'm enjoying that. I got the old one right before they came out with the new one, of course. But let's see, who else is asking me questions here? Yuppie wants to know, two questions. Mac or PC, which is better? Coke versus Pepsi question. Not going to touch that one. I will say this, I have both. I have PCs and I have Macs, and I use them for different things. So the PC, the gaming PC I built, I got a monster Windows 8 system over there. I wish I could run the Mac operating system on it because it would speed up my video editing. So because I can't buy a Mac that fast for what I paid for that PC, even though the tech is there to make them that inexpensive. So I would like that. But I like my Macs for other things. My Macs just work well with my production workflow. So I have, for example, I have this little MacBook Air on the desk here. I have a single Thunderbolt connection that connects to a dock I have over there, so I get video out, network, and disks and everything else through one little connection, which is really nice. And these Macs tend to work better with my video recording hardware than my PCs do, so that's why I use Macs for that. Let's see. DRP wants to know if you can install Synology DSM on a system you make. No, they only work on their own systems, but everything they have in these things is open sourced for the most part. I mean, they have some custom apps that do different things that are unique to the Synology, but you could replicate a lot of what those apps do, just not as well if you were to do it yourself. And I think FreeNAS is probably what a lot of people are focusing on right now. Let's see. Sunshine wants to know what I do for work besides YouTube. So my main job is my family owns a glove and safety equipment import business called The Safety Zone. We make disposable gloves. So that is my day job. And how I got into tech was when the company started, we were this little company. There was 3 or 4 or 5 people working there. And I was the cheapest person that could fix the computers that my father could find. So I did that. And when I was growing up, I would work, it's about a 20-mile drive from where I live. So I got my driver's license. I would drive up to work 2 or 3 days. Sometimes, actually, it became every day after school. Work from like 3 to 6 doing all the computer stuff. And then he'd pay me at the end of the week, and then I'd give him all the money back to cover the car insurance. So it was a good lesson in self-sufficiency to some degree. Let's see. Josh wants to know, can a Raspberry Pi 2 do a NAS? And yes, you could run a NAS through there, but the I/O is a bit slow. That's the problem, the input-output. So it's only going to be able to process so much data. You're kind of dealing with USB 2.0 speed, so you're not going to see gigabit kind of performance like you. This thing's a monster, by the way. So you should look up the review I did of this one, the 415 Plus. Because it is wicked fast. In fact, it'll saturate your entire gigabit connection and then some. So it's got, on the back, it has 2 Ethernet ports on it. And if you have a switch that supports it, you can bind the 2 of them together and get double the speed. It's really, really fast. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Hello, Cash. So Darren says he builds his own computers. Let me pull up the screen I'm looking at here. Including his own home theater PC, gaming PC, and firewall running sofa. So he knows what he's doing. So see, Darren, you're the kind of guy, if you got the time and the inclination and the interest, do it yourself, because you'll get exactly what you want when you do it that way. And I would certainly do that. And there was a time when I would do all this stuff myself. Now I'm just trying to do a lot with not a lot of time. So what I like about these is I can just plug them in and they work, which has been great for me. I would love to have the time to do all this. So one day, maybe when I go full time with this, I can start doing more in-depth projects like that. Let's see. Thunderbolt hard disk recommendation. So Thunderbolt hard disks. You know what's funny about Thunderbolt hard disks is that I'm not really finding stuff that performs. You can get like these big array kind of things like this, which I reviewed. So you can see that CalDigit one that I did. It was like a 3 or 4 drive thing. You could RAID 0 them and get some wicked fast speeds. What's been interesting though is that I haven't seen anything that really takes advantage of SATA 6 in the sense that they usually tend to max out around 3 gigabits per second, and I'm not seeing the performance that you should see out of Thunderbolt. So it's like the USB 3 drives actually have been doing really well for me, and you might save some money doing that versus the other one. I did a review of a dock the other day. This is called the Rocket Store 5441D. This is a USB 3 dock, but it has a lot of the things you'd get out of a Thunderbolt dock. So it has I don't know where I put it, but it has a drive. It's kind of like one of those drive toaster things. You can see the image there. So you can put the drive in on the top of it and use it like in one of those external hard disk adapters, but it also has a USB hub built in, an Ethernet jack, a whole bunch of other stuff. Really works pretty well. But I use, and it's hooked up, I can go grab it. I think I'm connected to my microphone. We'll see if it kills me or not here. But I have these little Seagate external sleds that I use. So when I'm recording, I record onto solid state disk with this Blackmagic recorder. And what I do is I just take the disk out of here and I just pop it into this little sled to edit and then hook the Thunderbolt cable up. And it works great, but quite honestly, I'd probably get the same performance or better out of a USB 3 device right now for what I'm doing there. So Thunderbolt's good. I think it's got some real good uses because it is more of like a PCI bus than it is a USB bus, but that is it. So let's see, what do we have to? We got 40 people watching right now. This is crazy. All right, I'll do a few more questions, then I'm going to finish this up and get some lunch, and then I'm going to go work on the Asus review. So let me go through a few more here. Nick, let's see, it keeps updating my screen here. Cole Wood says, this is the first live video he has ever watched. Well, I am honored to be part of that. LG wants to know, did you try the SSD cache option from Synology? I haven't. I think this one supports that, so I might want to look into that. But what I found, though, is that typically what I'm not doing a lot of random access. I'm usually just dumping data onto it and leaving it there. So I might, though, look at that SSD cache because what I want to do is I got to find a new strategy for my photo management because Apple killed Aperture, which was what I was using. So now I've got to do something different. So I think the SSD cache might work. And I think this one supports it. I got to look into that. So that was, who said that? I'm sorry, I lost who that person asked the question for. Let me keep going through these here. So that was Orlando on the Thunderbolt question. This thing keeps like moving on me, so I lose my place. Oops, we lost another one there. So let me go back through here. Somebody wants to know if I have kids. I have a daughter. So Sunshine, I'm a business student, always interested to hear such stories. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Sunshine. Yeah, I do this part-time. This is like so I used to come home and if I didn't have a meeting after work or something to do, I would, just hang around and watch TV or play video games or something. And I started doing these videos, and now this is like my spare time. So my wife actually works on an online newsletter for a local news publication here in Connecticut. So when she's working on that at night, I'm working on this at night. So we're both content creators. Let's see. What is the best place to get a computer fixed? My desktop just broke. I would find a small business that does that in your community, and there's a lot of them that do this, and I think you'll get a really good question there. Kaj asked me, I ignored his question. I think you asked me about if I had kids or not. So I make sure I didn't ignore it. It's hard. What's happening here, if you guys can see it, what happens is that every time somebody adds a new thing to the chat, the thing moves up again and I lose my place. I think what I'm going to do, let me see if I can go back and find a better way to look at this chat room. So I'm going to take about another 5 or 10 minutes of questions, and then I've got to finish this up, eat some lunch, run out and get some stuff, and then I'm going to work on the ASUS review. So let me go back over to the live event here and get a few more questions in. So let's go through here. Maybe I can see these better. Yes, I'm going to look at them over here. This is better. All right, so I'm going to scroll back up here and see where I missed. I don't want to miss anyone's question. So if I missed your question and you asked it a while ago, ask it again. So let's see. We got through most of those. I think I talked about whether I stream games, right? UP wants to know my favorite piece of technology. I have a lot of favorite pieces of technology. It's hard to say. I don't know. I like a lot of this stuff. You know what? I think I like my TriCaster that does all this video stuff because I can do stuff like this. Look at that. I can do like 2 screens. This is all live. I can hit this play button here. I can do that. I can do this. So there's a lot of neat stuff this thing does. What was nice about switching to the TriCaster for my production work is that I can do that kind of stuff where I can get multiple things up on the screen. I can move stuff around. I started doing a series on what I'm doing with the TriCaster, and actually this is streaming through the TriCaster as well. So the thing that's controlling all of this is also doing all the real-time encoding and pushing this stream out over the internet too at the same time. I think that's pretty cool. Let's see. But I like everything I own. The stuff that here's the thing, if I really like something, I legitimately really like it. Nobody pays me to say that I like something. And like these Synology disk arrays, I really like them. I think they've done a nice job with them, and they're among the best I've used out there. I'm always going to look at other ones too. Maybe there's something I might like better in the future. So let's see. Closed circuit television. Oh, so you guys are talking about something else there. Okay. If I skip over your question, it's not that I'm not answering it. I'm not seeing it because I'm trying to figure out where I left off. Okay, so I got to go back down this way is what I got to do. So let me go back up to here. All right. So Cole, yes, my views have shot up. Things are really moving in a good direction. We hit 40,000 subscribers this week, which is good. Josh TBG says his external hard drive is only USB 2. It's fine. You know what it is it depends what you need to do with it. You know what, USB 3 is a heck of a lot faster. So if you wanted to do something like boot off of it or run some virtual machines or other things, that might be a good thing. But if what you got works, there's no point in doing that. So why did I get into making YouTube videos in the technology category? And the reason is because that is what I know. And I think that's the key thing with YouTube is that it is if you pardon my language, YouTube is the best bullshit detector out there. So if you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to get called out on it. So I'm good at technology is what I do. I like it. I like playing with this stuff. And where I'm positioning myself is not, so I love watching some of these other tech channels like Linus and a few others, but they're focused on, real techie people, which we all are. But I'd like to do stuff that appeals to a broader audience because I want to bring more people into technology. So when you see my reviews, if you see that I leave out some details sometimes, it's because I'm trying to focus on the things that are important for the casual consumer, and then I do the follow-ups once I get some feedback on things that are more important. So that's kind of my strategy with all of this. GP wants to know, do I have a laptop that can run 3D modeling programs and do video editing that is in the 11.6 to 12-inch range? That is a tough one. I I would say you'd probably want to look at, you know, like a real high-end gaming laptop, like, you know, like an Alienware or something like that, because that's a lot of the 12-inch notebooks are using the Intel graphics, which aren't all that great for this sort of stuff. And you also run into thermal issues too, because when you do this stuff, it's really starting to push the hardware pretty heavily. And Dart agrees with me, having a kid in work, yeah, plug it in and make it work. The most mind-blowing tech in my house, I think, again, is the TriCaster, because it's in my house at the moment, so that is a lot of fun. You know what, actually, another piece of mind-blowing tech, because my wife actually appreciates it, is that HD home run. Go to Lon.TV/HD home run. That is my full series on what I'm doing with this thing. I got all of my cable. See, in the United States, if you're not in the United States, we have a horrible cable monopoly in the United States. And it's not a monopoly in that there's only one company for cable television nationwide, but for most of us where we live, there's only one cable company to choose from. And where I am, the cable company is Comcast. And I'm not going to bash them completely, because they do an awesome job with my internet. I live out in the middle of nowhere, and I've got the really awesome internet that can let me do all this live streaming, and it works great. But for television, they always try to get you to rent their own boxes. And we used to be able to plug the cable wire into the HD television, and you'd get the cable TV channels, for free. Free in the sense that you're paying for the subscription fee, but you don't have to pay for the box. We get those cable stations, HD stations, over the digital cable through the television. It worked fine without a box. And then one day they just encrypted everything. So your choice was to rent a box from them. And for me, it was going to be like $20 or $30 extra per month to get the stuff I was already paying for. So I went out and got an HD home run, which is a box that you plug a cable card into, and then it interfaces with Windows Media Center. I've got a whole series on this, so you can go into depth on it there. But it's a synchronized DVR. I worked through the Xbox as well as some of these little extender boxes, and it's replaced the entire Comcast cable box system in my house. And I have DVR on every TV. I can watch live cable TV on my iPad, on Kodi devices, on Raspberry Pis, whatever I have that can connect to this HD home run just works, and it's awesome. So that is mind-blowing in my mind. Colby, I should. I've reviewed a few smartphones. You can go and look at my channel. I did the two Motorola phones, the Plus and the Turbo, and I did get a OnePlus One. I just haven't gotten to it yet, so I'm going to be doing a review of that. The problem with the OnePlus One is that it doesn't work on Verizon, which is my carrier, but to answer Kaj's question, I use an iPhone 6, which I really like. And there's things that I like about the Android phones too, but there are like a few apps that I run that are iOS specific, OmniFocus being one of them, and a few others that I just need those apps to run my life, and if I don't have them on the platform that I'm on, I can't use the phone. So I've been really again, for me, I like stuff that just works, and the iPhone for me just works right now. But I do appreciate Android, and I have an Android phone. I just don't use it as much as the iPhone. Yeah, LG, I'm going to definitely look into that SSD cache, because I think it's going to be good for my photo stuff. So, Dangovstar Games has a USB external hard disk drive. He likes to share it over his network outside of Windows file sharing. Are there any Wi-Fi adapters that can share a drive? There are. I think the Pogo plug comes to mind. I haven't used a lot of them, but the Pogo plug is one that I've seen a lot of people use. Maybe others might have some suggestions here. And Martin is right, I have an iPhone 6. Any possible NAS OS that combines a NAS and XBMC? There are. Actually, I reviewed one from, who was it? Now, it's not Asus, it's Asus Store, a different company. They make NAS devices similar to Synology, and they have an HDMI output with Kodi on it, XBMC. So you could use that both to plug into your television and then have it on your network. But I found that the performance wasn't really that great. They didn't put enough RAM in it, and there wasn't enough processing power. They may have a new one out now that does better, but they do have some that do that. Let's see. Oh, Orlando, yeah, you're stuck on the 2011 Mac. I think you might be able to get the Thunderbolt dock and then get USB 3, but you're right, that would be a difficult thing. Darren says, I rock, thank you. Not all rainbows and unicorns. Clear and concise reviews. Yeah, I'm going to be doing some more of the business of YouTube videos shortly. I think the next one I'm going to look at is dealing with trolls. Not that you should, but I may focus in a little bit on that. It's funny, like I get some really nasty comments from people that are just crazy, and I don't know why people get so worked up about stuff. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. LG has the same NAS and it works great. Awesome. How do you ID a drive that's failing in a RAID? So Toby, every RAID has a different kind of way to tell you that the drive is failing. So let me pull up, let's go back to the Synology real quick here, and you can see what that looks like. So what'll happen here is I think there's a way to set up, there's a way to set up a way for it to notify you, and it can like send you a text message. This one even has the ability, okay, so we can go to notification here, so we want to look for. So it can email me, it can send me a text message. I'm not sure how it does that. I guess you have to set up a service. If you have the Synology apps running, I think you can have it send you a mobile notification that the drive is failing. And what it will also do is it'll have an audible sound that you'll be able to hear. So it'll beep at you to say that it's got a drive failure. So you've got some ability to do that. The most important thing, though, is to always back up the drive. So I back mine up two different ways. I have a local backup that goes via USB. I actually swap the disks out and take them off site so they're safe and just disconnected from everything. And then I have, as I mentioned earlier, I have this one now will connect to one I have at the office via VPN, and it will do a difference backup. Every time I add new files, it just copies over the new files and doesn't have to do the whole thing over again. So what I did, it was cool. What I did is I had both on my home network to start, and then after everything copied over, there was like 2 terabytes of data. I then took the other one and just moved it off site, and now it only just does the difference between the two. Let's see. Thank you, Cole. Thank you for honoring me. I feel honored that you are honored. What laptop is my favorite? I have a lot. That's a tough one. I have to say my favorite is the one I use 90% of the time, which is my MacBook Pro Retina. It's a 2012 Retina. The reason why I like it is that I do all my video editing on it. I also use it for work. It's like my everything device, and it works really well. And that's been my go-to machine, and it's great. I've been pretty fond though of that Dell XPS 13. It's nice. There's a couple of, just like the iPhone, I have a couple of Mac apps that I have to run. OmniFocus again being one of them. There's a few others that I use a lot, and so that's why I go that way. But I am going to be reviewing, just give you a little update here, a little teaser. This one from Asus, I got this in yesterday. This is a loaner that they send me loaners. It's great. They call you up out of the blue like, hey, we're going to send you this thing to look at it for a couple days. I'm like, absolutely. So this one is their X305F. Very lightweight. It's got the Core M processor. So it's not like a speed demon, but it's faster than like one of those cheaper ones we've looked at. And good battery life. I think it's fanless, and just it's a nice laptop. So I think you guys are going to like that. Hi, Jack. IKH, whatever that means. Pacey, what internet service do you use and what speeds do you get? I have Comcast. I've got their I have this thing called Blast Plus HBO, which means I have I get like 100 megabits down and 10 megabits up right now, and then I have an HBO bundle with that. I like the HBO Go service. So that's what I use for internet. By the way, it's my only choice though. There's nothing else I can get at my house besides Comcast right now, which, if there was other choices, I probably have better speeds. Let's see. Cole's got a Toshiba Satellite Pro. Toshiba makes good stuff. Do I get any revenue from YouTube? Yes, I do. And I love doing this YouTube stuff. I do as much as I do because there is revenue in it, and that's why I do it. I would do it anyhow, but I would probably do less of it because I'd have to do other things to make money. But it does help. It's not. I would say the hours I put in, it's probably about the equivalent of minimum wage here in the United States. So it's not. I'm not getting rich off of this by any stretch, but it is helping to pay some of the bills around the house, and it's something I really enjoy doing. So that's why I keep doing it. So I think the key is. I didn't start doing it making money, and I'm making some money, but not enough to quit my job or anything like that. But it's a lot of fun. Reed likes the new office. Thank you. I do too, because it's warmer up here. It was so cold down in the basement that it really wasn't working for me up here, and I was worried that we might lose some viewership. But no, actually the subscribers have gone up since I moved up here. I am going to be moving some retro stuff to where those printers are behind me there, so you'll see I'm going to be clearing out. So I've got this old Iowa mini system back there. I bought that in 1994 when I was in college, and it's taken up a lot of room on the desk. This was back when you needed a cassette player and a CD player. You don't need any of that now, so that's just a lot of wasted space. So I'm going to be clearing that out. I've got a couple of monitor speakers I'm going to put next to my display, and then I'm going to get rid of the 2 printers back there and then put some retro stuff back there to make it kind of look like somewhere like it did before. Thank you, Carlos. I enjoy doing this, and I'm glad you're enjoying the show. I enjoy the show, too. M. Hadler wants to know, do I get to keep most of the products I review? A lot of times, no. In fact, most of the major brand stuff I send back to the manufacturer. Sometimes they don't want the stuff back. And what I do if I don't have a need for it, so I get some things through the Amazon Vine program where they don't want the stuff back. So I can't sell it or give it away either, so it just kind of sits. So I might give some of it to charity. I think I can probably do that. Some things, what I do, if they don't want it back and I don't have a use for it, I usually donate it to the school here or give it to people that need it or whatever. So I do some of that. Some things I sell. But generally, the higher end stuff, you tend to get it for about like a month or so. Lenovo is like a 30-day period. Asus, they usually like it back in about 30 days or so. So I actually prefer not to get the stuff because I have no place to put it. And you know, the things that I really use are the things that I would buy. Like Apple, I use a lot of Apple stuff. Apple will never send out any review units, so to me at least. So I have to buy all that stuff. Colby wants to know if I got about 10 more minutes here, then I've got to wrap things up here because I got to eat and I got to get some errands done before I start the Asus review. Colby wants to know, do I do giveaways? And I do not because they're complicated from a legal standpoint here in the U.S. So I might do it, but I got to find. What you have to do is you got to get the rules right. If the item is of a certain value, there's tax implications both for me and for the person getting the stuff. So and people do giveaways all the time, but you're in the danger zone of committing some kind of unbeknownst crime, and I'm really careful of not doing that to myself. So I've been really careful about that. So I probably will at some point do a giveaway or two. Amazon has a giveaway feature now built into the Amazon site. Unfortunately, you have to buy it. So I can't give away something I already have here. I have to buy it and then send it to the person through Amazon. But let's see. MacBook Air from the ProTech guy is a solid laptop. It is, and I've got about $800 new. He says this is an older one. This is an i5 based MacBook Air. I use this one a lot here because it's small. You don't really see it, but it's powerful enough. This has an i5 in it. So when I do interviews, this is typically the computer that the Skype caller is calling in on. So you can see it is able to render that video 1080 out to my TriCaster really well. Exponology. I got to look into this exponology thing, Nick. Do me a favor. Email me at Lon.TV if anyone that knows about exponology so I could see exactly what that is. I'm curious now. All right. So Cole's got an EliteBook 6930p running Windows Vista. Ooh, Vista. Carlos is great. Thank you, Colby. I'm glad I'm your favorite YouTuber. Can I do a Seagate SSHD review? What is the SSHD? Let me know what that is. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that. WD Black 2. That is, these are just the actual hard drives. I might, I don't typically do like internal hardware products, but if I come across one, I'll take a look at that. Carlos wants to know security products. What's my opinion? I haven't really done too many security products. I looked at a couple of like the D-Link cameras and stuff. I think if you want security done right, you got to hire a professional who's going to wire up everything and do it correctly. Because you can do it yourself if you have the capability to do it yourself. But again, it's time consuming. You got to drill holes in things. You need to find the right way to make the software work for you. And I haven't found something that really is as good as a professionally installed system. Thanks, Cams. Let's see. So LG wants to know what's the limit. So basically with YouTube, and YouTube is tied to AdSense. So when you make $100, then they will wire the money into your checking account. If you're in the United States, I think they might. I don't know how they do it in other countries, but it's $100 minimum to get up to that point, and then they pay it out. That's how it works. Let's see. So people having some trouble with the thing. Yeah, GP, I'm going to probably just let this pop up. I may just do like the viewer Q&A. I might just cut to this Q&A part when I do it so you can see some of the stuff you missed. So I'm going to be ducking out of here as soon as I get to the end of this list here. Can you do a speed test on the internet? I would do that. Unfortunately, if I do it right now, because I'm streaming out, it's going to impact my speed. So I might do that later so you can get a sense for it. But I kid you not, I am getting about 100 megabits or so. Sometimes it goes up to like 120, and I push about 9 to 10 up. Right now. I could get higher if I paid more, but I think for now this has been working for me. Let's see, is Silicon Dust? Yeah, they haven't commented on the new box with H.264. I hope they make a Prime with that option because it would be really helpful for some of these lower end machines there. Let's see, 1+1, Cache has, yep. Let's see. Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of these devices, like XBMC works depending on what you're trying to stream through it. So, and your network connection, there's a lot of factors there. And the HD Home Run that I use for the cable television, that pushes out MPEG-2, which really stresses some of the lower end devices in a way that makes it hard. Although the Raspberry Pi, believe it or not, is the original one, as slow as it is, has a hardware MPEG-2 decoder on it, and you just have to buy the license, and then you can get a really good performance out of it for that kind of playback. Let's see, do you need a cable extender with HD Home Run if your TV is DLNA compatible? No, the HD Home Run is will tune those channels, but your cable, your television needs to support MPEG-2 for it to play back stuff from the HD Home Run. So if it doesn't work with that, then you need another box. So I would get, the Kodi Live thing is really good now. So I would say, get like it's hard to say. I haven't really tested yet which things work and which ones don't. But the Raspberry Pi, if you put that MPEG-2 thing on there, that would be a good tuning solution. And you can use the XBMC remote. UP wants to know if the Chromecast is worth it. I like the interface. I mean, I like what you can do with it is you can queue up videos on Chromecast while you're watching YouTube, and it'll just play them out, which is really cool. And what's neat about the Roku is that it works just the same way as the Chromecast does. You might want to look at the Nexus player, which has an Atom processor, so it's a little bit more powerful, and it works just like the Chromecast does, in addition to bringing all the apps to the device as well. Thank you, Nick. Let's see. How easy is it to process WDMI Cloud, the Synology? Oh, yeah, that's a hard one. You've got to really, I would say the best thing to do would be to back up the MyCloud onto a USB disk and then plug the USB disk into the Synology and just bring the files over that way. That's probably the fastest way to do it. A couple more here and then I'm out. Let's see. These questions keep coming. I want to keep answering them all, but I gotta get some lunch and I gotta get some more things done around the house here. So. Let's see. Would you recommend building a free NAS or buying? I think I answered this before. I like things that just work. If you've got the wherewithal and the time to build it yourself, you will always get what you want if you do it yourself, if you know what you're doing, for sure. Let's see. Hey, Zishan. Yeah, Nick, I like the XPS 13. It's a nice laptop. Yes. Oh, thank you, Darren. That's very nice of you. Yeah, I'm on patreon.com. And you can also do YouTube fan funding also. So if you go to Lon.TV, you can throw me a couple bucks that way. Zishan, if you go to Lon.TV/production, you can see everything that I'm doing here and how I do it. Because I've transitioned from Blackmagic hardware to a TriCaster, so I'm doing some different stuff now than I was when I started. Be honest, you don't ever have to return the gear you were. Oh, you do? Yeah. All right. So this is important. I'm very explicit with manufacturers when they reach out to me because I need to know up front what the terms are, because I need to know if they want it back or not. If the manufacturer says they want it back, you send it back. That's the bottom line. So HP, Asus, Lenovo, unless I bought it or I got it through Amazon Vine, it's always going back to them. Synology is letting me hang on to these devices for long-term periods because I do a lot of follow-ups on those, and we both benefit from it because, I certainly get views on the product. They've never paid me to do anything, but, I like the product. I legitimately, like the things that I really love, like the HD Home Run and the Synology. I mean, I'm just enthusiastic about the products and really like them. And we've developed relationships because I like what they're making and they like what I'm doing to kind of show how the product works. And I point out, even on the Synology stuff, I point out things that aren't perfect, as I do with all the other products I look at. So that seems to work out. But that's one of the things where you've really got to be careful. I think, as the channel grows, you got to be really careful about, how you're influenced and what's going through your head when you look at things. And my approach has been very simple that, it's important to build relationships with companies that make this stuff, but at the end of the day, if the product's garbage, I'm not going to tell you that it isn't garbage, because I have a reputation too to maintain here. So. A few companies have been upset with me and stopped sending things because they didn't think I was fair to them, and that's fine, but I'll just buy the stuff anyhow and review it if I have to. So it's that's the way it's going to go. Zishan, I have a whole bunch of cameras, but right now the one that's on me is a Canon HFG 30, which is what I'm using now. Okay, a couple more here, guys, and I got to get out of Dodge here, get some lunch. I use my Synology and Crash Plan, NAS or Media. Yeah, anything off-site is really important. Yes, 1994 is old. That was my freshman year of college. Let's see. Thanks, Mike. I'm glad that that HP stream was good for you there. Yeah, I have a pile of old phones. It's really crazy. So Pencon, I did a PC build around that price tag back over the before. I have the video still. I have to put. I have to do more with it. I just never got around to trimming it up. Lon at Lon.TV, Nick. That is my address there. I'm going to try to do some more stuff there and get that done. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. I know I'm missing questions, but that is what I've got going on right now. I got to go eat some lunch. I got to finish up this review and get a few other things done around the house here. It is Saturday, and I've got a place to be in about 2 or 3 hours. I have some things I want to get done before I head over there. So I really appreciate doing this. I'm going to, I hate scheduling live events because I hate to like schedule something and not be able to actually show up and do it. So what I've been doing is just kind of popping on live randomly here. So we've had about 40 people watching, which has been really fun. And I've enjoyed talking to all of you. And please keep those comments coming and keep doing all the stuff that you're doing to help the channel, because all the feedback helps, because those are the things that you're interested in are what people on YouTube are interested in too. So I want to make sure I continue serving the audience. So thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to finish up a few things, and we'll do one of these again. And you know, the weekends are probably the time I'll do them, but there might be an evening here or there. So if you're a subscriber, it'll kind of let you know when I'm live, and you can tune in and check everything out. But it's been great chatting with everybody. I will be back again later. Bye-bye.